Imagine a city, bustling and dense, packed with over 70 to 1,000 people. Now, imagine that entire city is a prison, and there are only 600 guards to manage it all. That's not a dystopian movie plot. It's the reality of one of the world's most overcrowded and infamous prisons. Welcome to a place where the lines between order and chaos blur, and survival is a daily struggle. Today, we're going behind the walls of a facility that defies belief. A place so massive and understaffed it operates like a world unto itself. How does such a place even function? What is daily life like when one guard is responsible for over 120 inmates? Stick around as we explore the story of this unbelievable mega prison. This is the Penal de Laragoncho, located on the outskirts of Lima, Peru. Built in the 1960s with an intended capacity for just a few thousand inmates, its population has exploded over the decades. Today, it holds a staggering 70 to 1,792 individuals. To put that into perspective, that's more people than the entire population of cities like Palo Alto, California. And overseeing this sprawling, condensed city, a mere 600 guards. That's a ratio of roughly 121 inmates for every single guard. In many well-run prisons, the ideal ratio is closer to 1 guard for every 5 or 6 inmates. Here, it's a number that seems utterly impossible to manage. So, how does the system not collapse entirely? The answer is complex and reveals a unique and often dangerous social structure that has formed within the prison walls. Inside Laragoncho, the traditional model of prison control simply doesn't exist. The guards don't patrol the cell blocks or the common areas in the way you might imagine. Their presence is largely confined to the perimeter walls and the main gates. They control who comes in and who goes out. But the day-to-day life inside is governed by an entirely different system. The interior of the prison has evolved into a self-regulating society, run by the inmates themselves. It's a place with its own economy, its own rules, and its own brutal form of justice. The prison is divided into different sectors or blocks, and each block is controlled by inmate leaders. These leaders, often the most powerful or influential prisoners, are responsible for maintaining order, resolving disputes, and essentially running their section of the prison. This internal governance is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it prevents total anarchy. Without this inmate-led hierarchy, the sheer number of prisoners would likely result in constant, uncontrollable violence. The block leaders, in a way, do the job the guards cannot. They create a semblance of order where there should be none. On the other hand, this system creates an environment where power is currency and exploitation is rampant. These leaders often extort other prisoners for everything from a better sleeping space to protection from violence. A black market thrives, selling goods smuggled in from the outside, from better food and mobile phones to drugs and weapons. If you have money, you can buy a relatively comfortable existence. If you don't, life can be a living nightmare. Let's talk about daily life for the average inmate. The prison is so crowded that personal space is a non-existent luxury. Cells designed for 2 people might house 20 or more. Inmates sleep in shifts on the floor, in makeshift hammocks strung from the ceiling anywhere they can find a spot. The sanitation systems are overwhelmed, leading to unsanitary conditions and the rapid spread of disease. Access to basic necessities like clean water, food, and medical care is severely limited. Official food rations are meager, forcing many to rely on the internal market or family members on the outside to supplement their diet. This desperation fuels the prison's internal economy, creating a vicious cycle where the poorest and weakest are the most vulnerable. Despite the grim reality, a bizarre sense of normalcy tries to break through. Inmates have set up their own businesses inside. You can find makeshift restaurants, barber shops, repair shops, and even marketplaces where prisoners sell handicrafts to visitors. Families are often allowed to visit, and on certain days, the prison grounds can resemble a bustling, chaotic market, with children playing while their fathers negotiate deals or just try to pass the time. These moments of humanity are a stark contrast to the constant undercurrent of tension and danger. It is a surreal environment where the rhythms of normal life are overlaid on a foundation of confinement and desperation. The inmates have created a society in their own image, with all of its complexities, community, commerce, and conflict. The role of the 600 guards in this ecosystem is fascinating. They are less like traditional correctional officers and more like gatekeepers or border patrol. For this inmate-run city-state, their primary job is to secure the perimeter and prevent mass escapes. They facilitate the entry of visitors and supplies, and they are the final authority in the case of a major riot or large-scale violence that threatens to spill out of control. However, they rarely intervene in the day-to-day squabbles or power struggles inside. There's a tacit understanding the inmates police themselves, and as long as they don't try to break out or cause a massive uprising, the guards maintain a hands-off approach. It's a pragmatic, if not terrifying, solution to an impossible staffing problem. This system is incredibly fragile. Riots do happen, often sparked by disputes between rival blocks, crackdowns by authorities, or simply the unbearable conditions. When violence erupts, it can be swift and deadly. With so few guards, regaining control of a section of the prison that has descended into chaos is a monumental and dangerous task. These incidents serve as a stark reminder that the fragile peace within Lerigoncho is built on a knife's edge, dependent on the delicate balance of power between inmate factions and the non-interference of the hopelessly outnumbered guards. The prison is a powder keg, and the fuse is always lit. Human rights organizations have condemned the conditions at Lerigoncho for decades. They point to the extreme overcrowding, the lack of medical care, the rampant corruption, and the inmate-on-inmate violence as clear violations of basic human rights. The Peruvian government has acknowledged the problems, and there have been discussions and plans to build new facilities and reform the system. However, the scale of the problem is immense and progress is slow. For the 70 to 1,792 people inside, and the 600 guards on the perimeter, this extraordinary and dangerous reality is just another day. It stands as a powerful testament to what happens when a penal system is pushed far beyond its breaking point, creating a world unlike any other on Earth. The story of Lerigoncho forces us to ask some difficult questions. What is the purpose of a prison? Is it punishment, rehabilitation, or simply containment? And what happens when a facility is so overwhelmed that it can only achieve containment? In the most nominal sense, the prison's existence is a stark illustration of systemic failure, where the state has effectively ceded control of its own correctional facility to the inmates it is meant to house. It's a cautionary tale about overcrowding and the human cost of a broken system. Thanks for watching. If you found this look into the world's most crowded prison interesting, please give this video a like and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating topics. See you next time.